Dawn, we are live.
Yeah, we okay?
Yep.
Ready to go? Okay?
Yep.
Okay. Good morning and welcome to the Committee of Adjustment meeting for January 12, 2022. The meeting will now come to order. Notice to all those in attendance that this meeting will be live streamed on YouTube and recorded. Please note that the recording will be linked to the municipal website following the meeting. Our committee today consists of myself as chairman. I'm Don Popple, Walter McKechnie, who is Councillor of Ward 3, Jerry Walker is appointee, and David Bishop, also an appointee. Jeff Isles is our Secretary Treasurer, Danielle Hicks, the Deputy Secretary Treasurer, and we have a guest, Alana Lacey, who will be filling in for Danielle while she's off on leave. So this is a public hearing to hear one application for a minor variance in municipality zoning bylaw. It's the committee's responsibility to consider all information received to date regarding the requested variance and to hear and consider any comments or questions provided by these applications or this application. Any variance granted by the committee must meet 4 tests, which are very clearly defined in the Planning Act. Requested variance must be minor in nature, must be desirable for the proper development of the land, comply with the general intent of the official plan, and comply with the general intent of the zoning bylaw. If anyone wishes to be notified of the decision, please make a request in writing to the municipality. Does any member have a conflict of interest? Actually, I have a conflict of interest once we open the meeting. On legal advice, because my family owns a piece of property very near this application today, I will be excusing myself from the meeting. Any oral or written submissions received in advance of the meeting will be verbally read aloud at the time of the application is considered. Information regarding live streaming of the meeting is available on the municipal website. And all persons who have pre-registered will have an opportunity to present or ask questions about the proposals. Please direct all your questions and comments to the chair. Each registered person will have up to 5 minutes to speak. Once speaking, the host will mute your microphone. Please state your name and relation to the application prior to speaking. The only application we're dealing with is homes. And it's application number D13 MV 2021-027. And on the advice of legal counsel, I will be excusing myself at this point in the meeting. Thank you very much.
Excuse me, Chairman. Don, excuse me, John.
Yes?
Don, before you leave, perhaps you could pass the resolution regarding the minutes from the previous meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I need a mover and a seconder for the minutes of the meeting December 8, 2021. Moved by David Bishop, second by Walter McKechnie. All in favor, please indicate by holding your hand. Thank you very much. That's carried. Is there anything else you want me to do, Jeff?
No, thank you, Chair. If you could please leave the room and mute your microphone before you leave, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, microphone.
And we'll just take a moment here just to allow the chair to leave the room. For all those present, a chair will need to be appointed for the upcoming file. I did speak to Councillor McKechnie prior to today's meeting, and he has agreed to chair this file if there's support from the remaining committee members. So I have provided a resolution in that regard, and that resolution's been provided to Councillor McKechnie. And so Councillor McKechnie, you can take a vote on this resolution now before continuing on to the application.
Okay, could we have somebody move this motion, please? Jerry Walker. Somebody second it, please. I can't see Mr. Bishop. Is Mr. Bishop's hand up?
Yes,
Yes,
I
sorry.
can confirm it is up.
Okay,
Yes.
and, okay. Be it resolved that Councillor McKechnie be appointed the chair on file D13 MV 2021-027 Holmes and Horton Homes. Thank you.
We get, perhaps get a mover for that, Councillor McKechnie?
we did.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry, can we take a vote on that, just
Yeah.
to?
take a vote on that, please.
Great, both,
I concur.
I can confirm both committee member Bishop and committee member Walker have raised their hand, so that is an approved vote.
Thank you. Like I said, the only application on the agenda is D13 MV 2021-027 Holmes and Horton Homes. Could the meeting host please add the applicant to the meeting, please?
Brian has been added.
Hi, Brian. You there, Brian?
Brian, may you unmute yourself, please?
Technically challenged.
No problem. How you doing, Brian?
Okay,
Yep. Okay. Would you like to explain your application, please, to us?
well, I got a permit for a 3-car garage, and the carport was there when I bought the property, and it was in not the best location, so I decided originally to attach it. But after looking at the elevation of the roof line and the floor level of the garage, I decided to, if I can move it across the road, because I got 11 acres back there, and there's basically nothing behind me for, I guess, a long distance. Then I applied for a variance, and I didn't realize the bunkie was an issue. 4 or 5 years ago when I bought it, the bunkie was ready to fall down because it was on stones and blocks and wood. It was from the original 60s. So I had it lifted off the ground. It was rotting. The floor was starting to rot. Actually, I really didn't want to spend that money, but I had to, or it's to save the bunkie, to put footings underneath it. Also, regarding the deck on, I noticed they brought up the deck on the bunkie, and I think it was done, I'm guessing, because I don't know. Dimensions from the old rafters to the deck, it's hard to tell because I don't know exactly what was done 23 years ago with it. And the original committee of adjustment approval, so it's hard to tell, but I was trying to be forthcoming, and it appeared to be, I'm not sure about the extension. That's the issue I wanted to discuss with you. And also the shed. The shed was originally shown on the original committee of adjustment, and I thought it was addressed on the original committee of adjustment, but it appears it has not been. So that's basically, that's all I have to add at the moment.
Okay. Any member of the committee who wish to ask any questions, please raise your hand. Mr. Bishop?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Well, I appreciate the applicant's comments. I don't see how in his comments he's addressed the requirements of the 4 tests that are necessary to be dealt with regarding a minor variance application. To some extent, I'm wondering, in regard to the activities that he's done, in regard to moving the carport and doing some work on the shed. Or not,
never
the-
did
yeah,
any work.
not the shed, but the cabin, well, why he would not have applied for permits to do those works.
Well, I felt that it was, time constraints were tight and it was pretty well ready to go, so. You know, I will get a permit for it now. Bring it up to code. But at that time it was imminent, it was ready to go, so. It's leaning real bad. So I apologize for not getting a permit, but I'll make sure I get one this time.
Well, I'm wondering in regard to the decking that you're speaking of around the cabin at the front. So you've also improved that decking, is that fair? From what
No,
it
I
was
never
to
touched,
59?
I never touched that deck. That was there when I bought the property. You can see it's existing, the wood.
But from a photo that I've got here, in regard to the property, I'll hold up that photo. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Yeah,
It appears that you've elevated the building off the ground
right.
and there are steps going up to a decking. Are you saying that is the same deck that was
No.
there?
No, I'm not saying it's the same deck. It was a deck that was there, but it fell off when we lifted it. And I just replaced it.
Okay.
It was totally rotten and I replaced it with exactly the same footprint and everything. There's no dimension different. That fell off. It did when they lifted it. It was such a, it was from the 60s, so it was rotted.
So I asked Mr. Chair whether or not there's some physical problem with the property that avoids him from being able to comply with the bylaw. Is this a desire or is this something that the topography and the land itself prevents him from meeting the bylaw?
Jeff, could you help me with that question, please?
Oh, sorry about that. Sorry, Committee Member Bishop, was your question directed at staff or was it directed at the applicant?
No, it was directed at the applicant to tell me why he cannot meet the zoning bylaw. It appears to be a desire rather than a need.
Can you clarify that? I'm not sure what you mean.
Well, again, you've gone ahead and done works without permits. And this building already exists. And the improvement or the alteration of the building at the shoreline and the moving of the carport, you've already done.
Well, the carport can be moved. It's just sitting there. It can be picked up and moved again. It's not permanent there.
Okay,
So we just moved it aside to do the construction for the garage.
okay, I appreciate that. That's a good
It's sitting on
point.
pads, so I'm not doing anything to more to it, if approved or not, but it can be moved back. If it
So-
had to.
Then go back to the cabin at the front. It appears from these photos that it is now elevated off of grade. It's greater at one side than it is at the other side, and it's more at the front than it is at the back. Is that on piers or is that on concrete block?
It's on piers, concrete footings that is 2 feet in diameter, 4 feet below grade, and poured concrete.
But so your application is in regard to a height of approximately, a little over 1.5 feet.
22 inches, yeah.
So if you'd have got a permit, you could have maybe, I'd like to go out and have a look at this particular building so I can just assess it a little bit better. I don't know what the rest of the committee's attitude is in that regard.
That's fine with me, Mr. Bishop. We can arrange a site visit for sure. How about you, Mr. Walker? Jerry?
Sorry, get
Go
my
ahead, Jerry.
unmute here. I just had a couple of questions, basically a clarification if I could on the whole application. So in reading this, I'm understanding that the variance for the cabin, the little private cabin at the lake, is simply for a 22-inch permit, I guess, is to allow that to stay in place. Am I correct on that, on the actual permit or the application for the permit of the private cabin? And the private cabin did have a building permit at the time, I'm understanding, and that the reasoning the applicant needs the height is simply because he fixed it all up and put it on piers. Is that correct there? Danielle?
That's correct.
Oh, sorry.
So that's okay. When the private cabin was lifted off the ground, it would have required a minor variance because it's legal non-complying status.
Right. So it was a legal building until it was raised 22 inches by fixing it up without a permit, correct?
Correct. The previous
Okay.
minor variance, I believe it's from 1999, allowed the cabin to be at that setback as well as in the front yard.
Right. Okay. So that is variance number A, is that correct? So that's one we're dealing with. Now we also have variance number B, which is to permit the accessory building to have a minimum water setback. So is that the same building we're dealing with, or is that the little?
That's for the shed. There is a shed on the property that
Right.
is within the water setback.
Right, okay. And so that is separate to this private cabin. And number C is to permit the legal non-compliant private cabin, which is the actual height is what we're talking about, right? So there's two of the variances. One variance is pertaining to the private cabin, which was legally built. The other one is for the little cabin that was not, is non-complying, it's within the setback. And the third variance, the number A, is to permit 3 accessory buildings. So we actually have 3, right?
That's correct. So the other variance is to permit 3 accessory buildings over 108 square feet and 1 under. So technically 4 accessory buildings.
Right. So, so as far as my only comment on, I guess we're just really have been talking about the private cabin. And since it was a legal, it was applied for with a permit, and it did have a minor variance to allow it to where it is. I really don't have a problem with the extra 22 inches in height, but that's only pertaining to that particular file. And I think if we look forward in the recommendations, it is one of our recommendations that we are looking at is that the applicant would apply for a building permit to make that, a legal building. So, for 22 inches, he's fixed the building up. It was, he never built it, but it was built with a minor variance and a building permit. I personally don't have an issue with that particular part of the application. So that's my thought on that particular part of it.
Would there be any other questions from, yes, Mr. Bishop? Go ahead,
Yes,
please.
Mr. Chair, thank you. While I appreciate what Mr. Walker is saying, we are still dealing, of course, with a minor variance within the restricted water setback, which council and the policy under the OP is that minor variances with respect of situations within the 66-foot setback with the requirements of enforcing that is to be strictly adhered to. So I have a little bit of a problem in that regard. The other side of it is, could this building have been saved by not raising it that high? There seems to be an opportunity here. 22 inches, I agree, isn't very much, but it has a visual impact from the lakeside, and it has a visual impact, of course, from the interior view as well. I just see a lot of space underneath this building in the photographs we've seen, and I have to struggle with the strictly adhered to part of the official plan and the policies of zoning. That's one reason why I think that we could go out and have a better view of it. The other idea is regard to the view of it is in regard to the relocation of the carport. If it's not obtrusive in the position it's in, or if it could be moved back even farther as suggested by Mr. Holmes, then looking at it might be a situation where we could approve of that additional building, provided it doesn't impact the view from the lake or impact the acreage of the neighborhood and change the neighborhood flavor. So we could maybe take a look at that. I appreciate Mr. Walker's comments in regard to the shed, the carport, not the shed, but the carport. In regard to the storage shed that's on the property, I think we have to address that to say that whatever we grant here, that should either be moved in compliance or removed. But I think, again, going out to the property and having a good look at it might give us a better opportunity to come to a proper decision that is both fair and meets the four tests.
I believe the building code says it has to be a minimum 16-inch clearance or 18-inch clearance underneath the joists. And also the shed, I'm willing to move it or remove it, one or the other. So I don't think I have an issue with that. But the only major issue I have is with the deck extension that wasn't done by me, and I don't know, like it could have been 23 years ago, 24 years ago. And it's such a minor extension, it's like 22 inches. So that's my comment, sorry.
Mr. Walker? You have a question?
So I don't have a problem with Mr. Bishop's comment, or, you know, if we could go out and have a look at it at the right time, that would be fine. I don't have any problem with that.
And I also don't have a problem with that, arranging a time to do a site visit. So any other questions from the committee? Jeff and Danielle, are there any oral or written submissions in respect to this file?
I can speak to that, Chair. Thank you. We have not received any oral or written comments with regards to this file. However, before we proceed, I just wanted to make a comment with regards to Mr. Holmes' comments pertaining to the deck. Staff are proposing a condition with regards to the deck. I think the first thing that needs to be noted is that for that deck to be expanded in size, it would require a minor variance. So without a minor variance, it's not permitted to be expanded beyond what was approved or what was in place in 1999 during that minor variance application. So I think the condition's worded in a way that might protect everybody's interests. So basically and we can get to the conditions here in a second, but that specific condition says that prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicants must submit proof that the addition to the deck attached to the private cabin has been removed. If staff were to receive proof that that deck has not been increased in size, we would be satisfied that that condition has been met. However, if we receive proof that that condition has been increased in size, that's where that condition is going to come into effect, that addition needs to be removed, or additionally, that the applicant could apply for another minor variance application to request approval to increase the size of that deck. So I think it's worded in a way that we might be protected. I just wanted to throw that out there in case we wanted to speak to that. Councillor Chairman McKechnie, I believe Committee Member Walker has a question.
I believe
Well, they're
Councillor
frozen.
McKechnie is frozen. Yeah.
Perhaps we can just take a few minutes here and hopefully his internet speed will catch up and we can resume with this meeting.
Hopefully his heart's still pumping there.
And I can give him it. And I'm going to mute myself here just for everybody's attention, and I'm going to give him a call and notify him what's going on. So excuse me for a sec. Excuse me, Danielle, can you see whether Councillor McKechnie is trying to connect back to the meeting?
I haven't seen him pop up yet.
Okay, thank you.
He's re-entering as a panelist.
He's muted.
Yeah, thank you. You hear me? Thank you.
You're back.
Okay, thank you. So did Brian have anything else to say there in regard to what Jeff's comments were there?
No.
No? Okay.
But maybe you can clarify again with the deck extension. He's saying his note needs another variance. But the comments,
Yes, I can clarify those comments. So section 3.19 of our bylaw talks about accessory structures within the minimum water setback. And it says that no accessory structures can be increased in area or height without a minor variance. So if that deck did increase in size from the time, I believe the last record was the 1999 minor variance application, is if it has increased in size since that time, it was done so illegally. So that's what we're going to have to go back and look at. We'll look at, and if it's determined that it hasn't increased in size, then it is legal or legal non-complying. So we can talk again after the meeting, Brian, if you like. But regardless, it would have needed a minor variance to increase in size. So we can go back and look at evidence after the meeting to try and figure out what the size was in 1999 and whether it's been increased since that date.
Okay.
Okay. At this time, does this committee like to ask any further questions?
Yeah, excuse me, Chairman McKechnie, Committee Member Walker and Committee Member Bishop have questions at this time.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Bishop.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I note from the decision of the committee in 1999, there was a condition that the shoreline road allowance be purchased and consolidated with the subject lands, and that was a condition precedent in regard to that approval. Has that been done? Has the road allowance been purchased and added and consolidated to the backlands?
Are you asking me? Yeah, well, I know it has.
Yeah, that is correct. The shore road allowance was purchased, and I believe 2001.
Thank you.
Mr. Walker, go ahead.
Just a point regarding the, Mr. Holmes mentioned that he was under the understanding that the building that he did raise had to be 18 inches above the ground for clearance. So could we, before our site visit, could we get a clarification on that? That could come into play with this approval.
I think it was
Thank you.
16 and 18 with the, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, just to confirm, I can speak to the chief building official about that. If this meeting is, or this application is deferred today, we will speak with the chief building official prior to the next meeting.
Okay, no further questions, I guess. Everybody's okay there? Okay. Would Danielle or Jeff like to propose the conditions with respect to this file, please?
I can read out the conditions for you.
Thank you.
So the variances apply to the accessory buildings, private cabin and shed shown on the property sketch. The county shoreline tree preservation bylaw applies. During any construction, proper sediment fencing is to be installed. The applicant is to obtain a building permit for the carport. The applicants are to obtain a building permit for the foundation of the private cabin. The applicants are to remove the shed into compliance. Prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant must submit proof that the addition to the deck attached to the private cabin has either been removed or proven that it's brought into compliance. And the last one is the 3 accessory buildings variance to section 5.2 applies to the existing garage at an area of 105.9 square meters, a carport at 33.45 square meters, private cabin at 26.8 square meters, and a shed at 2.2 square meters. Any future development beyond the existing uses and dimensions granted herein will require a further application for a minor variance.
Thank you, Danielle. At this time, are there any comments about the conditions from anyone? Mr. Bishop, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Although those are the conditions that are outlined at this point in time on the basis of the application that we're hearing now, I would request that we consider that those conditions might be altered when we go out and have a site visit to these lands. So subject to that fact that those conditions might change, be deleted or added to, I would request that I want to make a motion that we defer this meeting and allow a time for a site visit to further consider the lands and the applications on site. I would make that motion.
Second that.
Okay. Can we have a vote on that? Did we have a vote on that, right, Jeff?
Jeff, may you unmute yourself?
Yes, thank you. That's correct. We can move to a vote. I just wanted to comment on Committee Member Bishop's comments with regards to the conditions. If the committee does decide to defer this application, the conditions will not be part of that variance, so they can be discussed at the next meeting before there's any approval or denial of the variances.
Okay. And we'll have a vote on the motion Mr. Bishop put forward. Can we have a show of hands? Okay, it's moved. Thank you. So at this time, Jeff, so the chairs to read the resolution aloud. Would that happen right now? Or?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So let me just, excuse me here. Just got to get another screen up here, sorry.
I provided you a copy of that resolution.
Yeah, I got it right here.
It has
got
the
it right
3
here.
requested variances.
Yeah, I got it right here. Thank you. All right. Be it resolved that the committee decision with respect to file D13 MV 2021-027 be recorded as following. A variance to the provisions of section 5.2, permit 3, accessory buildings plus 1-story building less than 10 square meters in area, as opposed to the permitted maximum of 2 plus 1-story building less than 10 square meters in area, is granted, deferred, or denied. A variance of provisions of section 5.2 to permit an accessory building shed to have a minimum water setback of 10.66 meters, 35 feet, as opposed to the permitted 20 meters, 65.62 feet, is granted, deferred, or denied. A variance to the provisions of section 3.19 to permit a legal non-complying private cabin height to be increased by 0.56 meters, 1.83, as opposed to the permitted 0 meters, 0 feet, for a total structure height of 5.5 meters, 17.92 feet, is granted, deferred, or denied.
Thank you, Councillor McKechnie. Thank you for reading those out. Now, if you could just have a vote on, and you can just refer to them as variance A, B, and C, that would be great.
Okay. So in regard to A, would we grant it, defer it, or deny it? In regard to grant it, I guess that's.
You could request a motion from the floor if that's how you'd like to proceed.
Okay, go ahead, Jerry.
That I would move that we defer that file.
Okay. Can we have a vote on that then, please? We'll defer that then. Okay.
I can confirm that all hands are raised.
Okay. And in regard to B, also, I would assume that we're going to defer that also, guys. Defer it.
Yes.
Agreed. Yes. Did you get that, Jeff?
All hands were raised. Thank you.
In regard to C, also I'll vote to defer that.
Yes.
Till a later date. Thank you. All three.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor McKechnie. Did we want to set a date for a site inspection at this meeting? I'm thinking that we might have to wait until spring to proceed with that. Could I get some thoughts from the committee members on that?
Go ahead, Mr. Walker.
Right now, we don't have much snow, but if we try and set this for another month, we could easily have 2 feet of snow, which might make it a little more difficult. So with Jeff's suggestion of maybe later in maybe April or May, if that would work, I think that might be a better solution.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Bishop.
Yeah, I don't know what it's like out there right now, and as Gerald said, we're bound to get some more snow. Mr. Holmes is not in the process of building at this point in time anyway, and I don't think that that would jeopardize him too much if we put it off into April. If we're fortunate, we might get a bit of an early spring as well. So I would think that April is going to be the earliest in which we can go.
Okay, Jeff, would you like to proceed with that, please?
Yeah, so what I'll do is I'll add a note to my calendar in the springtime to touch base with Brian and arrange that site inspection. And at that time, we'll follow up with the committee members.
Okay. That's okay with you then, Brian?
Yeah, sure. April's good.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McKechnie. I am going to go grab Chairman Popple and let him back into the room. So excuse me for a second.
Okay.
He didn't go home, did he? In the meantime, Danielle, good luck with everything. And I guess hopefully we might see you back in a year a little bit.
Thank you.
Okay, well, looking for a motion to adjourn. David Bishop. A seconder?
No need for one.
Walter. This meeting is now adjourned, moved and seconded at 11:40.
Thank you all.
Thank you all for your attendance. I was getting lonely out there.
Have a good day.
Thank you. and
Have a
all